Good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday. Hello, everyone. I've got my tea that is steeping now, and I'm ready to go. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Hope that your week last week was good too. Let's see. Today we're continuing to work on the BBECS crate, the little ECS crate that we've been creating from scratch without actually knowing how to properly create an ECS system. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of there's been a lot of learning in it too, which is one of the big reasons why I wanted to do it. And we're also gonna be working on Asteroids. I want to say Asteroids is still in a working state right now. So if I run this, yeah, okay, so it's still in a working state. I can still turn around, I can still fly. I can't shoot yet, we haven't added that feature. And we can crash into the asteroids and have a bunch of particles. But what we wanted to do was have a message pop up after we die, maybe even like at the beginning of the game, and say, okay, press enter now to spawn your ship and use your next life, essentially, something like that. The problem, of course, being that we don't have a good way to have like multiple things displaying there. So that's what we need to do today. This has led us down like a pretty deep rabbit hole of like how to eventually get to do this. Most likely what I need to do is use this idea of a bitmap, where I'm gonna have like a true or false for each entity and component, and that will allow me to not have the same length in the vector of the actual component. So then I can go through and say, ooh, this one doesn't have any, we skip the entire row, and at the end we should have the same length of items. So I was thinking about how to like test this, how to do this. Because we have vectors and RCs, I'm thinking that we have to move the RC and the ref cell inside of the vector to be for each cell. I don't really see a way around that. Maybe there is one. It's just like my skill level. I don't really see a different way to do it. So if any of you have a suggestion, I would love to take a look into that. The other thing I was thinking about is I have all of these tests. They're sort of like getting all of these tests. They're sort of getting replicated over and over and over again inside of this file, which is ballooning the size of the file up. Now it's not going to balloon the size of the the built deployed binary because it's only done on test. But I was thinking these actually are feeling a little bit less like the sort of unit tests and more like integration tests. And so I want to switch and move them out there. Plus, I think a lot of this is going to have to be rewritten anyways due to this big change of moving the RC and ref cell inside of the vector. So this would be a perfect time for us to switch to, I think it's out here. So I think the idea is that you create a test folder, and then you can have something like, this is where the integration tests would be. So whatever the test is going to be, it goes inside of here. I want to say that, but it's been a long time since I've done integration tests. So let's go take a look let's Google search for the book. So that'd be Rustlang integration tests. Okay, yeah, so there's tests, and then we can write just a file with that. And, oh, okay, and then it's basically the same. We have test, and then a function with what we want. That seems easy enough. Each Rust source file and test directory is compiled as a separate crate. One way of sharing some code between integrators. Oh, okay. So basically, if I need some like setup type stuff, I can then copy that between the two. Okay, so that seems easy enough. So let's say that I want to do an integration test for probably like one integration test for each type that we're covering. So if we take a look here in our data types, actually be in components, right? We have all of these down here. So we would potentially want one integration test for each of these. Let's say I just take the first one here, point. And where did we put that? That was... we have source lib next to source. Okay, so it is in here. So we're now gonna create we're gonna use point. So this is gonna be, basically it's the integration test with point. So, I don't actually know if that's how I really want it to be. And then here we can write the functions for CUB test. Then we have function, like test the point, right? What is the point? So we can actually have a bunch of these around, like several tests in here. So it'd be like creating the world. No, we don't need that because that could be a test in world itself. This is going to be things like once we have it, we want to insert and get out the resources and insert and get out the components, and then delete the components. And that's pretty much what this is going to be. So if we're going to be insert and get out resources, insert and get out, and query for components. RT Ahiko? Is that right? RT Ahiko? Good morning. How has the Rust experience been so far? I like it. I'm a big fan of Rust, although I'm not using it at work, so I don't have like that side of Rust experience for me. Instead, I have the sort of like doing it for fun and anti-burnout and growing my just general programming skills. I think that has been great so far for that. Insert and query for the components. I want to delete an entity, and I think that's it right now. So we'll start by function. Let's see. Inserting, and I guess this would be like resources, right? So resources, probably, let's see, testing the like immutable resources. Are the compile times slow? So the initial compile where you're compiling like everything all together is decently slow. I would say yes, that's a problem. Once you've like if you make just one change to something and then you recompile, it doesn't seem to be that bad anymore. That's a pretty big caveat because if you're forced to work with older Rust, the compile times are slow, even if you're just only making like one little change. So it does have incremental compiles where you're like compiling only the files that need to be recompiled. That being said, it is getting better, but like if you really need super fast compile times, like probably Rust isn't the place to go. Cargo became bigger. Oh yeah, cargo is becoming better all the time, which I love. So testing immutable resources, I don't know a better name for that yet. And I think we can still do the return of a result, which is an error result. That. So we'll do that. All right. So what I want to do, I want to basically create the world, create a resource, insert that resource, and then get it out again, and then make sure that it's good. So mute world equals world new. Okay, so that gives us a new world. Once we have that, we need our resource to insert into. We can actually do, let's see, what do we want to do for that? We're going to create it as a point, right? Because this is in a point here. I'm curious when I run this if it's going to have like the name of the file is going to be included in the report out. Good morning, Utsby. You don't find the compile times awful for smaller projects. The ever-expanding size of the target directory is more of an issue. Oh yeah, the target directory does like keep on ballooning out. That's true. I guess like it really shows that like Rust is concerned, like where the concern is, and like where they don't really have a focus for fixing right now, or it's like what the priorities are. Okay, so for that I want to register world dot add resource, the name. So let's actually just go that. So this can be our point. So let's do this as like, it could be like a location. And this could be our, that name is equal to location. So then you can be resource name, and you can be location. Oh, you don't return a, okay. And you need to be a string, so we'll just do a to owned. There we go. Okay, so we have our, we've added our resource in now. So now I want to get that resource out. So let retrieved location is going to be world.get resource, resource name. This one has a return, so we'll get that. Oh, right, and it's the wrapped. Because we're getting just one of these. Okay, so we get a wrapped retrieved location. Then we have to borrow this. That gives us this ref and a resource, at which point I can cast it to be whatever I want it to be. Oh, you discovered that a copy of one of your Oh, wow. A copy of one of my other projects, the Get the Streamer game, had grown a 3 GB target directory the other day. Oh my gosh. Part of that, I think, is also GGEZ. It stores artifacts in the target directory. So that gets really rough because like every single type of target that I do, it's going to like duplicate all of those resources that it needs, which is not optimal. But yeah, like 3 gigabytes is insane. Like we're getting JavaScript Node.js levels there. And we're not even talking. So like that's the other thing. We're not even talking about well, I guess that is the exact same target problem. That's not the biggest. I've seen bigger, unfortunately. Not from Rust, but from other things. Not optimal on a 256 gigabyte SSD drive. No, that is very, very true. Yeah, it's I don't know necessarily the best way to fix that problem. Like there's trade-offs that you make for like the sort of npm style of package management that that Cargo seems to be using, and you know it's good. Like there's some really good benefits out of it, and there's some really big negatives out of it too. All right, so we get our retrieve location. We do have to tell it what type this is. So you're going to be a reference to a point, and then we can do our assert. So we're going to assert equal that the location is equal to the retrieved location. And I think you need to be structured. All right, so if I run this test, okay, where it is? Okay, here it is. So testing immutable resources. So this is under the folder. Okay, so test integration test point rs. Okay, so testing immutable resources. Okay, so it doesn't have that. It just has the name of the function. That being said, is there like a different display for the tests? Like, can I do like go help test? I guess like is there custom reporters? So much stuff here. Okay. Yeah, so that lets me like pass in anything that I want. Okay, so I could do target. Okay, so it's going to do the integration test. I mean, as a very fast sort of look through, I'm not seeing anything about like customizing the output. I think what I want to do then is change this function name or change the folder name. So we're in integration test point. I might want to do this like integration test point resource get resource. Or maybe just like resource, and then we want to do it this again for the mutable. So then mute. All right, so this is gonna be the exact same thing. We're gonna have a world, we're gonna have a location. We'll have our resource name as the location. Okay, we're gonna add the resource. All of this is gonna be the same, but now we're going to make this mutable. This is gonna be a borrow mute. Our retrieved location is now gonna be a mutable reference to a point, and we're going to cast mute. Then I want to make an update to this. So we're going to do our retrieved location dot x, like plus equals to 10, 0. And now I would expect that if I get it again, I go back and basically get you again. We're just going to borrow again. Retrieved location is just a reference to the point. We cast you. Our location.x should be plus 10, should be equal to retrieved location.x. And I don't need this dereference because we're doing the .x. And then the y should be the same too. Is it allow flip compare? All right, you're not upset now. Try running the test again. Failed. Okay, so panicked at already mutably borrowed. So one thing that we did notice here is that when I come back into doing this, we have to drop the wrapped retrieved location. It's something we run into quite a bit with the asteroids side of things. So having that sort of documented in these tests is actually really helpful. Okay, so that all works. So these tests work for the integration, for resources, so getting it immutably, getting it mutably, and then we'd move on to components. So this is where things are going to get a little bit different, because in order to use the bitmap, we can't. Things are gonna have to change on us. So let's start with, we want to insert the component and we want to query it back out again. Like basically a query one on a component. So query one. We'll just do query one components. All right, so what do we need to do in here? Well, we're going to start this exact same way. We're going to create a world. Once we have our world, then we need to create a new entity and add it in. Okay, so our entity is going to have a name. So, well, the entities themselves don't really have a name. The entities, like the components, have a name. So we'll do that. Component name is equal to location. Component name is equal to. Then I want you. Oh, component name twice. What am I doing? The component itself is going to be a point two. Or sorry, just a point. And I think that's going to be it. Let's go ahead and world spawn, and we'll sort of see what we need to do. So we're going to do a spawn entity, and then with component, our component name. This, yeah, it just needs to be, oh, spawn entity. Yeah, I don't need to give it like anything else. This is a stir. Okay, that's fine. And then our data, which is going to be this component. All right, so we've added in our entity here. Now we can query out and expect some things from this this component. So to begin with, I suppose that we would expect we need an ID. We need that is deleted, and we need the component itself. So let our wrapped locations equal to world.query1. Our name is the component name. We'll borrow. So this is where it's going to be very different now. So we should do this based on what we expect it to be. I can just question mark this. I now expect to get a vector back, but with the RC ref cells inside the vector. And that's going to allow us to sort of change things around. Otherwise, I have to be doing all the borrowing inside this library, which sort of, I don't even know if there's a reason to have the RC and ref cell if I'm just doing that. So what we want to do, this is going to be a lie essentially. We're going to be getting a vector, like essentially components of this back. Okay, so if we have a vector of the components, so what would I expect this to look like? It's gonna be a vector of RC ref cell. So we wouldn't borrow here, it would just be that query. So ref cell, and then inside of this would be a components. Now, would that make sense, or should I have this be essentially point? Like, should we know that this is a point at this point in time? And if so, how do we convince the borrow checker that we actually know this? Or I guess it wouldn't be the borrow checker, but like the type system. How does it know that we're doing this properly? And I wonder if, like, should I do something like we have a point, like world, we tell it that we want a point query one. I don't know if that would make sense there. Or if we just hard code this every single time, that we want like a wrapped point. So let's go and see what we can do about this. In our world, all of these tests that we have down at the end, they're gonna have to be turned off for this, because they're gonna be very, very, very unhappy with what we're about to do. We're gonna come back into our components. A lot of things are just gonna become very unhappy very recently. So instead of like this vec of point, this is gonna be a vec of RC. Fine. Ref cell point. Oh, ref cell. Okay, and that's what we're going to do for the rest of these. So and we can watch all the errors coming in. So the idea here is also, if we go to our entity data, this gets changed too. Instead of the RC, let's see, where is our entity data? It's the trait. Okay, here it is. Instead of this RC ref cell components, this would just be components then that we store inside of here. So each one of these components gets just these in here. So that makes you kind of happy. There's still going to be problems here because we can't do, well, actually no, we could still do the vector. That's just fine here. Okay, self-taught components, insert. Oh yeah, I don't need this RC ref cell here. So we're just doing the match like that. Okay, so that should make you happy here. Well, except for all these other places where we don't have to do this like borrow, mute, and everything else in that exact place. Okay, let's just take a look at these one at a time here. In components, mismatch type, so expected, an RC ref cell. So this is, okay, so self.components get, okay, so in query one, we're getting this out, and then we're just returning it. So you're going to be a result with just a reference to a vector. Actually, you're just a result of components, aren't you? Like that. And components inside of it is the cast where we're going to get into weird potential issues. All right, so then delete by index. Let's actually, I'm going to remove delete by index completely because it's not going to make sense once we have, once we start implementing the non-uniform size, like length of vectors. All right, so do I have tests down here too? No. Okay. What do we have next? Entity. Okay, so insert. Insert into here. So we're gonna get, okay, so if let's get this, that becomes just a reference to these components, then I don't need to borrow mute here. This is where we need to essentially cast, and then we can borrow. So we need to cast mute first. So I don't think I can do this part until we fix you. So with the VEC and RC inside of here, okay, so I'm just going to remove this delete by index. Don't need you. So I don't even need that impl components. Okay, so we're going to cast components for this. I think this is going to be all changing on us. Cast mute. This is going to have to be a RC ref cell like that. Yeah, incompatible type. So let's undo that and move them all here. So in cast mute, gonna result, come to here, come to our vector, and inside of here, we're gonna have an RC. Ref cell. Oh, can't do one. That. Do that, I think. Okay, so now we see points equals self, so that gives us a mutable reference to these, and then we go down. Okay, so that's fine. And then just the normal cast is next. So same exact thing here. We have our vector of an RC cell. Save view, and no more errors in this file. Okay, so that means we can come back to here. So we get a reference to the wrapped components. Then we borrow, okay, we can't borrow this. We have to cast it right away. So get this. Now, I don't think I can cast mute and then borrow it right away. I don't think that's gonna work. So that, basically it's like we have the components and then we need to like wrap the results. Okay, so we need to cast mute. The only way we're going to cast mute this is if it knows what type it is. Now, it would be great if I could do something like, I want to cast mute this to a point. Something like that. But that doesn't work because type arguments aren't allowed for this type. Even though I have the types like set inside of here where we do like impl cast components for this. Is there a better way to do the typing? Can I do like cast components point like that? I don't think I can. Yeah, I can't do that. So instead we have to set what the type is going to be here. So you're going to be a mutable reference to a vector of RC ref cell point. And at this point in time, I don't think it makes sense for this to be like a mutable reference to it because it's like an RC in there. So just a reference to the vector of RCs, I think is good enough for this. Okay, so we get that out. So we have a wrapped components. Then we want to, like, what are we trying to do? We're trying to insert into this. I don't need to borrow mute this anymore. I don't need to do anything like this. I can just straight up push our data in, but this is now going to be our RC and throw our data in there. And so you're going to be our points. Oh, so okay, wait, you do need to be mutable. Like that. You're not yelling at me, but it might be like for a reason down here. I don't know. So let's say I take away all these other ones. Let's not do all these other impulse. So we just stick with point for right now. Try to get that working. Okay, so spawn entity. Oh, okay. The to be deleted. Let's go ahead and not worry about that either right now. So we're not going to. The only thing we're going to deal with is point. Which means query 1, okay. All right, so then you're saying that what we're getting back is different. We're going to get this result of a reference to components back. So a result and a reference to components. Okay, then here, delete entity by index. We're removing that entire thing. Update, which does the delete. I'm gonna go ahead and not deal with update right now. This probably needs to be completely rewritten once we like start doing stuff otherwise. And then I'm gonna take all of these other ones that are not points and comment them out. So one error left. All right. Here we go. back to here. Cannot borrow components as mutable as it's behind an immutable reference. So we want, you need to be get mute. So it gets us a mutable reference to the components. If we save you, oh, lovely. Okay. None of these errors in here, but plenty of errors elsewhere. All right. Oh, this is all on asteroids. I don't care about asteroids right now. We're gonna be dealing with them after we like figure out what's going on. So anything in asteroids, I'm just going to ignore. Which happens to be all of these things. We're gonna be having to deal with all these later, but right now. Okay, so integration test points. All right, what do we have here? The tri-expression alternatives have incompatible types expected of vec of RC ref cell found a reference to components. Okay, so we're actually getting a reference to components. And then if I do this actually, yeah, okay, so we know that we have a reference to components here. Okay, so all these asteroids, okay, so in here, warnings now. I'm gonna, should I ignore the warnings? Spawn entity. Oh, it's because, okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about. Interesting. I thought I was doing this in, oh, bitmap. This is bitmap. Never mind. Never mind. Entity data. Okay, so then these are all just warnings. All right, so we're good to go. Back to here. We have our wrapped locations that we've extracted out from this. Now what I want to do is cast this so that this is basically just our components. I want to cast it to the point, but then it's going to be wrapped too. So we have to like do the entire unwrap thing too. So this is going to be wrapped locations, which is going to be a type of a reference to a vec of RC ref cell of point. You're going to be our components dot cast. Okay, so you're not yelling at me yet. So now I have a wrapped here. So it's this point, and then I want to loop through it. Like what I want to, we're just testing to see if we can like get one out of it. So if I get the first element out of it, I then want to borrow that, and that gives me the point. So let queried location equal to our wrapped locations position 0. We're going to borrow this. That gives us a ref to a point. And then we can do our assert equal our queried location and I want you to be equal to component. What I can do is I can dereference you. And that should work. So let's go ahead and try it. failed. Okay, this is integration test point query one components. Okay, so that's left is 0, right is 1. You should be a point, and component should also be a point. How could that be left is 1 and right is 0? If I debug queried location, and I also debug component, fine, I'll give you a reference to that. What are you? Will you tell me, or did you just crash? Oh, I don't get to see it at all. Okay, what if I don't do this assert? And I think what I can do is cargo test. Throw you in there, and we'll just test that one thing specifically. Wait a second. Left does not equal right. Error. You need to register before inserting components. Okay. We got the error. We just missed it before. Before I insert this component, we do have to do a world.register component name, and then the component type is this components point, like that. Let's try this again. Oh, there was right, I don't get the, oh, I forgot. Okay, hold on. How do I, did I put this into my knowledge wiki? No, I don't think I put anything into here. So let's add in like in testing. So we got libraries, tools, testing. So specifically, I want to log using debug in tests. So there's I'm experimenting with this new tool called Obsidian that I heard about. Some people are saying that it's like potentially a replacement for Notion. What I've noticed myself is it's probably better as just a markdown editor, like a GUI markdown editor. But I've sort of like taking a look at it. It's got this nifty little graph tool, and you can see like nothing here is like linked together, which like this is because of the knowledge wiki that I have in GitHub. And I wanted to sort of like play around with it, see how I like it or not. All right, so I need to go remember exactly how to log in tests, because we did it before and then I didn't write it down. So I want to add this in. So I think it's like Rust test log, like Stress test log output. I know like many people have talked about this. Oh, I think it's this thing. This no capture. Let's try that. Even though that was like in the problem statement saying they couldn't do it, I want to try it because I think that's exactly how to do it. So I think it's this test. Now, can I do it here? And then space that. I don't think that did it. Try putting it at the end. Okay, that wasn't it. Let's go ahead and actually read through what the solution is. Okay, documentation. Wait, I'm not sure that's what I want. No, okay, this is not what I want. Okay, so it does seem to be this dash dash no capture. I wonder if it's having trouble because I'm not. Let's try the no capture, but not specifying the specific test. If I do that, wait, that didn't. Oh, I removed all the other tests. That's why. Oh, it might be because we're panicking. Look at this. So panicked at, attempt to subtract with overflow test, integration test, mute. In bitmap. Okay, so bitmap is having a little bit of trouble. In our main world, where we're doing like this bitmap stuff, I just don't want to do anything with bitmap right now. Okay, so if I do that, let's try again. There you go. Okay, I got this test output here. So now I get this queried location. All right, so that's good. And mismatch types. Expected a struct of point found struct RC. Okay. Right, because this is not a vec of point anymore. Down here, this is going to be a ooh, wait. Is this one? Where's the problem? It's oh, components line 40. And yet line 7? Okay, it's okay, so this is components line 40. So mod components line 40. Right here. Okay. Oh, in these tests. Oh, I see. Okay. Right. So these tests need to be updated now. These are the doc tests, which I should probably write more of them, but I think I'm just gonna get rid of this for right this second. We're gonna add some more. I think I'm gonna add all the doc tests as soon as like I actually stabilize what well, probably 1.0, because then we've stabilized the API. So if we just solve the problem by removing all the tests, that fixes things, right? Like I figured that that's a valid way of dealing with failing tests. It's just remove the tests. What can possibly go wrong? Okay, so we have that. We're happy here. We should be able to come back to you. I don't need to do our debug anymore. We have what we are sort of expecting out of here now, and we can do our assert equal. And everything is passing. Excellent. Okay, so that's what we kind of wanted to have happen here. So this is query one of components. And if I wanted to do the exact same thing and query mutably, so query one mute components. I don't think that there's like any big difference here. But let's take a look. So I want to query one to in order to mutate. World, we have our location, we have our components, we register a point, we spawn entity. Okay, so we components, we get you out. I don't think I need to be mutable yet. We're gonna get the mutation in here. So wrapped, okay, we cast you like this. So I think this means we don't even need to cast mute anymore. But then here we're gonna have immutable locations. I think that's right. Well, let's wait until it yells at us. So now I want to, instead of borrow, I want to borrow mute you. Then I want to update you. So we're gonna do our hello Chantilly. It's going well. How are you doing? How's your Sunday going? A queried location, we're gonna do .x plus equals 10.0. We can also update our component. So go ahead and mute this component. We can just do component dot oh, you know what I can do? I could shadow and do no component. So we can do component equals a new point, new and point 0 and 0.0. Oh, you've got Monday off too. Oh, that is so nice. I love those 3-day weekends. I love waking up on Sunday knowing that it's like there's still like you don't have to worry about the next day. It's still a day off. Oh man, that feels so good. Okay, so we have this component here. We update our query location X. Then we need to drop this wrapped locations, I think. Well, I could wait until it yells at me, but I'm pretty sure we need to drop this from either drop this one or this one. I'm not sure. Then I want to let's say I take this wrapped locations and I should be able to cast it out again. I shouldn't have to do another query for it, but we could still do that. We could still do like components. We'll query you again. Component name. Basically, we're going to do this entire thing again. Except this time I just want to borrow you. Okay, so we have the ref of point. Now I want to assert equal that the queried location, and you're now going to be the updated location. Wrapped updated locations. Chet Dev, hello. How are you doing, Chet? How are you doing today? You're here early. Usually you sleep in on Sundays, right? Oh, and you got the Brooksy Ferris. Nice. Okay, so updated. We borrow that, and then we should say, okay, our updated location should be the same thing as component. Now you cannot borrow queried location as mutable as it's not declared as mutable. All right, so queried location, you need to be mute here. Wrapped updated locations is you're going to be the wrapped updated locations that we borrow from. Okay, let's try it. I don't need to do that anymore, but I do want to just run you. Okay, so yeah, we get this already immediately borrowed for borrow error in line 95. So this wrapped updated locations. Wrapped updated locations. So this is, I think the wrapped locations needs to be drop our wrapped locations and see if that's all we need to do. But you sleep in every day. Oh, that does feel nice sometimes. Already borrowed muted. Okay, so maybe that's not. Oh, what are you yelling at me about? Oh, okay. So I can't do that one. This wrapped locations. Queried location. Oh, I need to do it down here. No. I never use queried location again, so you have to drop queried location. Do I have to drop both them? Queried location and wrapped locations? No, okay. I just have to drop this queried location out here. Now it is, so whatever is borrowed mute, that's what I have to drop. I believe that I can also do this by taking you and throwing you in there. That. And you should still work because it's going to drop it as soon as it reaches the end of that block. Okay, yeah. So that's another way of doing this. I'm not sure which is the best way. It's sort of like developer choice. But that gives us... Okay, so now we have a way to like query one. Now, the next thing that I want to do, which I think is now opened up to us, is query multiple. I want to query many. That being said, inside of here, I also want to like make sure that we get that ID and we get the deleted. Like the is deleted. So what is that gonna look like? I wonder if that would be a different integration test here. Oh, it'd be so cool if I could like just create a file from this location. If I create a new file, I want to make sure that like spawning entities press. Okay, so all right, so we have the spawning entities has to like give us all this like the metadata, which is that our result, which is the error result. All right, so what do I want to have happen here? We want some kind of like entity to spawn. We need some kind of so we need the world, we know that. So that world's equal to world. You know? Once we create the new world, we need to do a we need to spawn something in. So that's gonna be like world dot spawn entity. We need to do it with some kind of component. So let's give it like a component name is going to be equal to, we can stick with what we're doing so far. So it could be just like a location. Or not that, component name. And then our data is going to be it's going to be like the location, or we can actually just have this be the component data. It's equal to a point new okay, so if I spawn an entity with this component, we already have the test that we can get this specific component out. But what we need to do is test that we can get the ID out, and we can get like the is deleted. So spawning entities with like the metadata. And let's be like, I guess let's be more specific. So with ID and is deleted. So I should be able to, I wonder if I want to just do spawning entities includes ID. And then we'll do another one for like the is deleted. That way it can just be like a one assert per test, or minimal asserts per test. Okay, we have that here. Let's now extract out. So that we're gonna query out the is deleted. No, this is the ID. We're gonna query out the ID. So this is gonna be the IDs. We're gonna query one. The name of the components is in our mod world. It's up the top, Entity ID. That gives us our components. Then we need to cast this into the specific thing that they are. So that's going to be, I don't know if we want to shadow this. We have to, I think, tell it exactly what it is. So it's going to be a vector. It's going to be a reference to a vector of RC with a ref cell with, and then in this case, I think a U32 is what we decided that was going to be. We're going to cast you. Now, we don't have, you should be yelling at us, I think. Because I think I removed this, or did I not? Oh, I still have all of these in here, so we're fine. Now we have our entity IDs. We know exactly what they are. I want to get the first one of them. And I want to, let's see, I need to borrow the first one. So our entity ID is going to be equal to entity IDs of position 0. We want to just borrow it. That gives us this ref of a U32, and we should expect, so assert equal that a dereferenced entity ID is equal to, I think 1. I can't remember if we start with 0 or 1. Let's try that. You're a ref of a U32. If I, oh, wrong one, that one. Okay, so let's run this. Left is 1, right is 0. Wait, what? Where's my problem? Wait, rest up tool chains. Convert mod. Oh, need to register. Need to register. Register. Component name and component type. You are a point. Come on. Component point. There you go. Let's try this again. Okay, index out of bounds, the length is 0, but the index is 1. And that is... Okay, so test spawning entities. So that's line 23. Right here. Oh, right. Spawning entities. .rs. Okay. Line 23. Got it. Okay. That seems right. And that's because we're not actually doing that work yet. So let's go ahead and head back into the world. When we spawn an entity, so when we register, we don't need to register the bitmap yet. That's gonna be coming up soon. But when we spawn an entity, we need to give it an ID. And I think, let's see, in default, yeah, okay, so look, we register entity ID as a U32. When we spawn an entity, we need to self entity data insert entity ID and then throw this in there. Okay. Now this is going to say us we don't have a U32 in there, so we need to head on over into this insert, and we need to make sure that the U32 is activated for us. And so things are going to be a little bit different, just like we have a little bit different in here. And it makes me wonder, can I just like copy you, throw you in here, and we'll just change the names around a little bit. So data, because it's U32, its name, our data is actually going to be this U32. Result. If let some components. Okay, so we get mute. That so this is gonna be. Can I shadow here? Components. Be a U32. Cast that mute. Components push. RC new. Okay. You're not yelling at me. So if I run this test again. Okay, now we just get the assertion failed. Left does not equal right. So we have left is 0, right is 1. We can come back to our mod world. We can see that initially, where's our default? We set our next entity ID is 0. And we don't update that, so our test is wrong. We come back into spawning entities, and you should be 0. Now, if I wanted to do 2 entities, so let's say I do this twice, like world.spawn entity with component. This has to be like a different component. So component 1 name. We can do this as U32s now. So this could be something like size. We can have you just be like the location. You're going to be a 15.u32. We have to register the second point. So you could be location name, size name. So location name, size name, our component type, component U32. Okay, so spawn entity, you're gonna be the location name, and you're gonna be just location. And then here, you're gonna be size name, size. Now, to get this out, we're gonna create the entity ID. Entity IDs is gonna be this still. Entity ID is borrow. Okay, so this should all be the same. The idea is I want to go to 1, the first one, and you should be 1 now. Okay, so if we run this as a test, okay, so what are you upset about? Mismatched types. Expected struct point found to U32. Okay, so with component, we need to make sure that our types for U32 here. Take you out, make you happy. All right, so what's going on here? So with component, we take the name of the data, self.entity. Oh, add resources also here. Should put the semicolon outside of the quotes. It would be helpful. All right. No more errors in there. Let's see if there's any more errors or if it all just works. No, it did not. Okay, so what happened here? Okay, error tried to insert into the bitmap before registering. Tried to insert into the bitmap before registering. So if we head back into here, we can see, okay, yeah. Try to insert into bitmap. Let's undo you for a second. Let's run you again. Left is 0, right is 1. I don't see any other errors. Oh, you know what? It's because, yeah, that's I think my entire idea is wrong here. I don't want to spawn completely different types, like not a second size. I don't need that. I think what I want to do is spawn 2 that has locations. Is that right? No, because like the entity should have a second ID. Oh, that comes down to like the entire point of the yeah, this comes down to the entire point of the like the multiple locations and everything else. So here, let's just do this. We have one of these. We're gonna come back here and probably update this test when I can just spawn like 1 or 2 of these things. So we have our location name, our location, we register our location name. We give it this location name. What I really want to do is do this twice. So location name, and we can give it the same location again. It doesn't really matter. It's gonna copy it in, and then entity IDs. Now I expect it to have that one. No? Still failure? So with, I have a second component. I'm getting entity IDs. I'm getting the first, like, position 1 instead of position 0, and I would expect that to be increased. I should. I wonder. I could also loop through here, so we can do. Let's not do the borrow there. Here's our vector. If I loop through entity IDs, so entity IDs, we're going to get this into an iter. We're going to enumerate and do a for each. Although I can't easily do the question mark inside of that. Let's just do for, this can be the index and ID in that. You're really the wrapped ID. So I would expect ID is equal to the wrapped ID dot borrow. Assert equal that our ID dereferenced is equal to the index. That's sort of what we'd expect it to be. Oh, usize. As a U32. So we have two asserts in there. So one of them should succeed, right? And the name of this function is spawning entities include ID. Let's just do this one here. Interesting. Okay. I would have expected that to give me like one success and then one failure. But I guess it's seen. Kind of want to debug this then. If I run that, let's do a reference to that. Or I could just dereference that, it'll copy out. Okay, there we go. If I run you. So ID is 0, index is 0, ID is 0, index is 1. Okay, so the ID didn't increment. So in a mod world, if we come to spawn, there, that's my problem there. Now we run the test. There we go. Okay, passed. Give me focus there, not focus here. Okay, so I had accidentally commented that out and forgot about it. That's cool. Okay, so we now have IDs coming in there, and now I want to do the exact same thing, but for the deleted. So includes deleted flag. So I can do the same thing with a location. We register the location. We spawn like 2 locations here. In this case, I don't need to do 2 locations because everybody should be getting false when set up like this. Okay, so let entity IDs equals world query 1. So we query the, it's not going to be entity IDs anymore. Is deleted essentially. Is now, let's go find to be deleted. Okay, is deleted, so shadowed to give us, this is going to be a Boolean. We're going to cast that. Maybe is deleted. So wrapped is deleted. Year A is deleted. Okay, so wrapped, this is gonna be our flag, or just is deleted, I guess. Equals that. Oh, I can remove this debug. I don't need you anymore. And hopefully I don't need you. So dereferenced is deleted, and I don't actually need to do this entire for loop either. Okay, so you are is deleted a position 0. We're gonna borrow you to become that. Then we're going to assert equal, that is deleted is equal to false. You're not yelling at us. Let's go see if you work. We know it doesn't work. I don't believe, because I think I turned that off. Component with name to be deleted, not found. Right, because I think we're not registering it. So here in, so in default, we are registering. Okay, so we're registering to be deleted. When we spawn entity, we need to insert to be deleted, which means we need to go find our Boolean here. We're going to do the same thing that we did here for our Boolean. Okay, so no problems there. No problems here. No problems here. Let's see. Oh, I think we need to activate it more. I think we're still going to get a fail. Okay, so component with name to be deleted, not found. That's all bitmap stuff. So, okay, so to be deleted isn't inserted in. Now in this impl world, we are, okay, so we're inserting this component bool. That should be fine. So let's double check. Oh, register. Not a... Oh, no, the point... Okay, the point is still be registering. We don't care about this. Let's see. Now is deleted. Okay, so components. Query one. Oh. No space there. That would help. There we go. Passed. Excellent. All right. So now we know if the component's been set to be deleted. And we know... Okay, so then we could do our delete next, but I'm not sure we can actually do that yet. I think next is for querying. Let's go ahead and reset these a little bit. Let's say we integration test points. Let's say I want to get multiple. So maybe this will be like querying. Querying multiple components. Oh, basically this is querying for entities. So what I mean by querying for entities here is if I just query for like the full entity, which really means like querying for entity means querying for all of the components that make up that entity. I guess like querying, maybe not querying for entities, querying for multiple components would be very specific. So we're going to query for multiple components at the same time. So what is that going to look like? We want let the components equal to, oh, we need a new world. Once we have a new world, we do need to add in at least 2 different components. So we can have like a location. Do that size thing again. So size. Okay, so if we do that, then we need our data. Okay, so I have that. We need to register these 2. Okay, so you're a point. And you're a U32. Okay, so we registered them both. Then we need to spawn both of these. For simplicity's sake, because we haven't like implemented this feature yet, I'm gonna have both these have the same things. So with component, our location name, and you're gonna have location. And we'll just duplicate you. So now, okay, we have two components in the system. Then I want to query for both of these components at the same time. And like, think about this. I don't need this. I don't need the two entities. I just need a single entity with multiple components. So then I should be able to do let our query results. This is gonna be our components equal to world dot query. Maybe we can show this query, and we have to pass it a vector of the names. That would be like location name and size name. And that would be very similar to what we saw previously with the, like over here, where is it? Query 1, we just give it the component name. All we have to do here is give it the component names, but in a vector this time, and we would expect us to get a vector of those reference to components back. So let's go ahead and implement that. So world. So here's query 1. Let's go ahead and add just a full query. So we know that you're just going to be a stir. I think I want to just start making the move away from doing this type of thing. I don't think it's really helpful. Okay, so a result, you're going to be a reference to components. Self.entityData.query. Oh, this is going to be names and a vec of stirs, and we're going to pass it in names, and we're going to just pass through this. So it's a result of a vector of components. It has to be a vector because I don't know how many components I'm querying for at the same time. Okay, so then we're going to head into entity data. Let's go find query here. Here's query 1. Names is going to be a vector stirs. Turn a result of a vector of a reference to components. Okay, so let's start with let results equals a new vector. You need to be mutable. Once we have that, we want to go through the names. Actually, we have to do that. Let's just do this as a for each loop first. So for name in self dot no name in names. Then we're going to do if let sum this is going to be the component in or equals self dot components dot get. So these can all be get now. I don't think we ever need to get a mute, do we? Anymore. Actually, no, I don't think we ever were doing a get mute. Key, that's gonna be the name. Right. So that gives us the reference to the components. We're gonna push that into results. Component. Now, if we can't find it, then we need to return an error, the BBECS error, and you're going to be component not found. Then the string is going to be the name to owned. And then at the very end here, we're going to return okay with results. Oh, and then you need to be an into. Okay, so this should now allow us to query for multiple things at the same time. So if we head back to querying here, so no errors everywhere else. We now get our vector of like multiple components. So, I mean, I don't think you could destructure like a vector of this type of thing. I don't know if I want to like do the work to do the, I like the idea of like being able to get like multiple things out. But I do have to be aware that I'm requesting like location name first and then size name. So if I want to cast these essentially, so let locations is going to be it's going to be a reference. Let's see, how would this work? You're going to be a component of position 0. We're going to cast you question mark. Okay, so then it's now a vector of, okay, so then I need to tell it exactly what it is. So you're a reference to a vector, an RC of a ref cell of location, you're a point. And if I want to do this, the same thing, so size is going to be a reference to a vector, RC, ref cell, U32. Components of position 1, cast U. All right, so far so good. Now, would you allow me to, no, probably I don't think I can, like, so these are going to be wrapped. No, not really. They're the actual, like, locations. So now I have to loop through each of these locations and sizes to, like, find the make sure, like, they're exactly what we thought that they were. So if so the vector RC, if I get the first one out, so that a location is going to be equal to locations position 0, and then I borrow this, gives me a ref to a point, and then I want to ensure, so assert equal dereferenced location is equal to location. Oh, that's not going to work. Okay, so I don't want to shadow this location. So this is a queried location. So you're equal to that. And then I want to do the same thing for that queried size equal to sizes position 0, borrow it. Okay, so no errors in there. If we run this test. Awesome. Okay, so now I have the ability to query for multiple things at the same time in the ECS system, which is really awesome. That's something that that will actually help out a lot. It'll clean up some of the code in the Asteroids game, which is super, super nice. Now, let's say I want to delete them. Like, because that's kind of important, or I want like things with different levels of components. So you have the screen for multiple components. Essentially then I want to do a query for entities when not all entities have same number of components. So this is the big one. So this is going to be our big deal here, because we need to make sure that we can query. Okay, so what this means, let's see, let's just go through it one step at a time. New world equals world new. Then we want to create like our components. So let's have our locations and sizes again. Then we have these. We're gonna have a location. All right, so we're gonna register these two components. Then we're going to spawn and insert our entities. Okay, so we're gonna do our first entity is just gonna have a location. Let's actually have this. We're gonna have two entities. The first one is gonna have both, and the second one is only gonna have one. So we're gonna have our location name. That is gonna be the location. they're going to do this exactly the same thing again. So world.spawn entity with component, and this time we're only going to give it a location. Let's give it like a second. Let's give ourselves a second location. So maybe do like first location. Okay, so you get the second location, and that's all you get. And you get first location. Okay, so far nothing is yelling at us, but we have a problem here because right now the world assumes that we have the same number of components for every single entity. So this first entity takes up, has location and size sort of like sitting here like this in these two vectors. The second one only has this one. And so like if a third one has we can even do that. You can have like a third location and a second size. Let's do this. Third size equals like 30, 32. You're 15.0. And so ooh, kitty cat is here. Okay, with component. All right, so this is gonna be our location name, and you're gonna be the third location with component, size name, and third size. All right, so now our middle one doesn't have a size, but all of them have locations. So if I want to query, so if I want our components equal to world query, and I want a vec of this is going to be our location name, size name. So if this is what I want here, then we're going to end up getting the second one. The second entity's data right now is going to be included in the query when I really want to make sure that all I have is like the same number of components here. So how would I verify this? I know for a fact that the first ones are going to be correct. So this location and size, so position 0 of locations is going to be equal to the first location, and position of 0 of size is going to be equal to this size. But then I'm going to want this one. So position 2 of location name, I want to be, okay, so first of all, I want the lengths of these to be 2 essentially. Now the length of components is going to be 2, but the length of each of these in here I want to be 2. So I want to assert equal, I have to cast down, don't I? So let locations is going to be a reference to a vector RC ref cell point. So components, position 0, cast. Might as well do this now too. Give me a vector RC ref cell of U32. Okay, so we get both of you out here, and I want to ensure that your sizes are the same. So assert equal that location length is the same as sizes that length. And this should fail right now. They should not be the same. So I would expect that left is going to be 3 and right is going to be 2. Left is 3, right is 2. Okay, exactly what we expected. So how do we fix this? Because when I'm querying for this, this is where we need our bitmap. We need all of this stuff in here. So in default, we're creating a brand new bitmap. When we register, we're registering the bitmap name. And then we're spawning entity and all of this other stuff in there too. But then with component, so for point, we have to insert the name that we're inserting in here. And the same thing here for U32s. We insert that in. Okay, so now we should have a map of well, the bitmap, like what we actually get out. Then what do I need? I now need to, when I do the query for multiple things, I need to like pass the bitmap in to ensure that like we only include the things that we really need. So what is that going to look like? Let's come take a look at our query. So entity data query, we have the names here. I wonder if we have to actually pass in the bitmap too. I'm not going to do it right this second. I want to like sort of see where like where things would need to get stitched together. And that's going to return this vector, the components. So then we're going to go into entity data query. And so in here, we're going to get this, which is, again, components. We can't cast them. Now, is this our problem? Because we can't cast it because we don't know what it is. Because this is gonna be a problem here because we're just getting these components and sending them on back. So I think as part of our query, we may need to cast this. So we need both the names and the types in here. So I wonder if I need like some kind of query builder so I can have like a little bit of a data structure so I can have the name and then the type. Let's imagine that I had that. In here in this query, I could results, okay, for name in names, that's fine. Okay, so this would be like for query in queries. We get the components out based upon the name, but before I push this component, okay, so this component wouldn't be a vector of components, it'd be a vector of the very specific things that we're looking for based upon the types. Would that even work? So let's imagine instead of creating the full that full sort of like data structure right now, I might be able to get away with doing it here manually. So if I do like a tuple, we have a location name, and then the type here is going to be the point. Oh, but it can't be a point like that. It has to be a component point. Like that. And then size name is going to be the size name and the component U32. So if I do that, back into query, so you're not going to take just the names of the vector of stirs. It's going to be a vector of a tuple of stir and component. And then we pass that into names here. So you're going to be the same thing. So stir and component. So then if let some component equals self, okay, so it's a name dot zero. That will get me out the name and the components here, and I don't want to result push this yet. Instead, I want to maybe shadow this component. So component, oh, we're going to need to cast this. So you need to have a type set here. You're going to be a reference to a vec of an RC of a ref cell of, in this case, well, how do we know what it is? Therein lies the rub, right? Would we need to put query in each of these? I would hope not. I can have something like a T here. What if I do like this? Component. No, because that's not the type that's set out for us. So I would need to put something like point here. Now I could query. I could match the component, and then based upon what that is, that's what this type is going to be. So I wonder if I could do something like let our query type, or maybe cast type, equal to match. I don't want you to be, oh no, yeah, you're that. Match of names.1 Replace with match. No field of names. Wait. Really? Oh, wait, no, because like names should be fine there. Names is here. Oh, because we're going over this. I want, oh, okay, so name.1. That's what I want. Okay, so name.1, and then we're gonna field match arms. In this case, if it's a point, want to return this with a point. If it's a U32, you're a U32. So wonder if like I can actually do this. I can make you F32. Color. A marker is a string, and you're a text. Yeah, okay. So I was hoping that I can then just do like the type. Hello bear. Oh, you've been lurking? Well, awesome to have you here, lurking or not. Yeah, I was hoping I can like just store away the type here. And like return like what the type is and just like have that as like a first class citizen. I don't know if I can do that though. I don't think I can. So I don't think I can do something like instance to yeah, I don't think I can do something like actually making you the just the thing. I guess it could be type ID. I can do a type ID of it. Type ID might be doable here. It's like pass in, instead of component, pass in the type ID. And then based upon the type ID, we do a different one of these. Okay, so we would get the names out, then we have to cast this based upon you. Let's try this. Instead of component, let's put like the type ID. Oh, wait, what is a type ID? Type ID, okay. Now I'm really curious. Can I do name.1 dot? I want to go back. Can I go back? Just parse. There's two string. I don't think I can match on the type ID, but I can match on... Oh wait, I don't think I can match on... I don't know if I can do any match. If I basically have a type ID here. I need to find out which one of these they are and like convert the type ID into the concrete type. But wait a second. Let's not do type ID. Let's do that components. If we do just a component like this, we pass in like the component type that this is. Then we can match on these components to do the cast. So like we could let component equals gonna match on name.1. Gonna fill the match arms. Okay, so if you're a point for if you're a point, what would that mean? That means we are we have our component here. I want to cast it. Okay, so it's probably gonna be multiple line. So let component, and you're going to be a type of a reference to a vec RC, a ref cell of a point, and you're going to be equal to component that cast like that, and then I want to return the component. Okay. Let's do that the rest with here. Copy you. Right, you're just lowercase. So fix some of these here. You're a key code. You're a string. And you're a text. Oh, right. Match arms have incompatible types now. Right, because this could be a point, it could be an F32. It doesn't know what the size is anymore. So that's our problem. It could be, we could do maybe like a dyn any. Yeah, because it's not returning the same exact thing. So that's the problem of where we get into this. So I have to do, I can't cast it inside of here. It has to be cast wherever it's being used. That's sort of like the problem that we have. Okay, so given that as a limitation, if I put the vector, so if we move the vector back into here, components is like a vector of component. Now the RC and ref cell can still be in the component, then I think we're in business. So if you become a vec of components, and so we can do that, vec of components. I'm actually gonna also rename you to component data. So that's gonna be a fun change. So you're gonna be component. Oh no. Ah, stop. I want use create components. So component data comes out of here. It's also okay, a lot of this is going to be updated as a result of that. So hold on, let's get rid of all of you. I'll deal with this later. Let's head into components, and so you're gonna be changed. So we're not gonna have this be a vector anymore. Instead, you're just gonna be the RC, like that. Which means that when we cast you, instead of this, you're not gonna be the result of vector anymore. You're gonna be the RC. That, okay. And the same thing here. Not sure if this is right. I don't think I want to give a clone of it though, because I need to borrow it. So I think this is fine so far. All right. Looking at you. Okay, so casting component for a point. So we got rid of that. That's, oh wait. Is that a problem? Okay, you all have one extra. Okay, I almost got it right. So wherever I have this many of you, I'm just gonna remove one of you. All right, no more errors there. We're fine. Everything's fine. Okay, so component data. Oh yeah, I need to rename you. You're not components anymore. You're gonna be component data now. So where we have this for components, it's now going to be component data. Okay, so if let this component, I think I could just make you self. That will make it a little bit easier to sort of change later. There we go. Component data. Okay. All right. Components. Okay, so this is register. Component type is that. And so you're going to be component data with a point. Now, when we register now, I don't actually care about this, do I? We're going to insert now. We don't need any of this. let the components is equal to an empty vector. And that's all we're inserting, an empty vector. Okay, so it's a vec of component data now. This is right, okay? So a reference to a vec of component data. Okay, so for the big query now. Okay, names is our vector of the string and the component that we're getting. Now we're going to return a vector which matches this of it's got to be a vector of vectors, isn't it? Like a reference to a vec of component data. And you're going to be name dot one. You want, okay. Oh, name dot zero, not name dot one, name dot zero. All right, what's next? Okay, so for point, for insert, we have our name, our data. Okay, so what are we getting back here? We don't need to cast this anymore. So if let some components equals, we're in entity data now. This is insert. Okay, so we get mute from the name. That gets us a mutable. Okay, that. And then I don't need to cast at all. I just need to components dot push and rc new ref cell new data. Okay, there we go. Oh, yes. You're right. It's not exactly that. It's the component data. So it's going to be a component data point rc new ref cell new data. That's what we want. And it'll be the same thing here. So a little bit simplified. So remove u, get a vector, push, and this is going to be our component data u32. Okay. right, so you're all happy here in our world mod. We're unhappy again. Okay, so query 1. Our result is going to be no longer just this component data. It's going to be a vec of component data. And query is going to be a result of a vector of vectors. And then, okay, then our tests are wrong. So time for us to fix this. So wherever we have components, this is actually component data. Okay, so when we query 1, we now get a vec of component data. So it's going to be our wrapped location is just going to be this RC. I think it can be just a reference to the RC. So components of position 0. We're going to cast that. Then our queried location is going to be the wrapped location dot borrow, which gives us the rep point, and then we're good to go. So same thing happens here. We have components, which is a vector of component data. We need to grab the first one out and cast it. So what are we doing? Okay. Vec of component data. So you need to reference. So we really care about the first one here. So wrapped location. It's going to be a reference to an RC. I'm going to cast mute here. No, we don't need to cast mute. We can just cast. We're never going to need to cast mute. All right, what's this problem? No method named cast found for a reference. There is an associated function with a similar name. Oh, components 0. Okay, so we cast it out. Okay, we get a wrapped location. Then the queried location equals, okay, so then we're going to, this is simpler. So like wrapped location, we borrow you mute, so that's this mute, and then we can create location.x plus equals that. Okay, so then we recreate the new component to test. Wrapped updated locations is now going to be this reference to view. This is going to be components of 0 dot cast. And then wrapped update. This is a single location. We borrow you, and then we test you. Okay. On to the next thing. All right, what's going on here? We have components. Okay, so we have our full query that we've done, and we passed in location name and size name. Now, location name expected a tuple, right? Because now we're doing this entire fun tuple thing. Which I'm not completely sure is the best way to do this, but for right now, I'll let it go. We have our location name, and then this is gonna be a component, a point, and then our size is gonna be the size name, and component U32. Okay, so locations is This can be, okay, this can be our wrapped location is not going to be this vector anymore because we've queried out of it. So is that going to be true? Because we have this vect of vect. So querying, I want a reference to the RC of point. Okay, it's going to be components of 0. Oh, okay, I know. We want, yeah, hold on. Locations is going to be a reference to a vec of these. Okay, so it is going to be that. So here's our locations, but I don't cast it. We just have components of 0. So we're just sort of destructuring out. Sizes is a reference to that. But we don't know what you are yet because we can't cast you. Could I cast you if I really wanted to? I don't think I could. So you're still just a component. Components? Component data at this time. Okay, so you're a reference to a vector of component data. Oh, right. So none of this exists yet. Okay, so this is what we get out of there. Can I destructure that in this way? Can I say something like, locations and sizes? I don't think I can. Can I do this with parentheses? I doubt it. Yeah, okay. So there's no, I don't think there's destructuring with vectors. Okay, so, okay. We have our locations and sizes. Now we want to cast this out and then we can borrow it. So that locations. So really, I don't need to do this type at all. I can just do that. We have that, but okay. Now locations, I want you to cast it. Oh, I wonder, can I cast it right here? So you're going to be a reference to a vec of RC of ref cell of point. Toggobit, hello. Toggobit, you were doing a stream today. How was your stream? Well, awesome to have you here, even if you're probably gonna, head off and fall asleep soon. I assume so, because I think it's pretty late where you are, right? It was long, but how did it go? What are we working on? Things are going, I think, okay for us, but it's unsure until like I get through this and find out what I want to do. Not too late. I was adding text rendering in an alternative render. Oh, nice. When you stopped, you had a seg fault, so that's fun to come back to. I know I try not to like end on those big errors, but it's really hard not to sometimes. I know exactly what you mean. Okay, so if I do this, how do I do it over here? We're casting, because we're casting each individual item, so we can't do that unless like for each did or something, or mapped it. I could map it, but I can't do the cast yet. So yeah, this entire thing, I might as well just leave this here. Like that. You're just, look, we have our locations and we're sizes that we got out of here. But if I want we could do a wrapped location is going to be a reference to an RC ref cell point. There you go. Okay, so that gives us a replication. And then here, you can just be the wrapped location dot borrow, and you will be the wrapped size dot borrow. Okay, so we'll have this too. Let's do locations equals components 0. Components of 1. Then you're going to be the wrapped but instead of this vector, it's going to be this RC. Just that, okay. Components that, the cast, okay. Oh, and then instead of this components, you're going to be the like locations or sizes. And here we get the first one. Okay, then we can get, and never mind. Hold on. I don't need, if we're just testing the lengths here, we can just say locations.length and sizes.length. That's it. That's all we care about here. And then spawning entities. Okay, what's next? So here we're testing that we spawned correctly. So we have our entity IDs that we're getting back. It's this vec of that. I need to cast it. And I care about I care about all of them. So this doesn't happen here. We have our entity IDs. Okay, so here's our component ID. So it's our wrapped IDs. Okay, so let ID equals wrapped ID dot borrow. So we can't borrow it. We have to take a wrapped ID. We have to cast it first. So that our wrapped ID is going to be type of a reference to an RC ref cell. And you are a U32. No, a U size? U32. Wrapped ID, cast, like that. Then, okay, so now we borrow, we get the ref, and then we can do the rest of that down there. Okay, so same thing for you. Got is deleted. Okay, so we query one to get this vector. And is deleted, we want the first one. So is deleted of 0. You're going to be this RC. We cast you, and then we don't need. So is deleted that borrow. And then we can check to see if you're false or not. All right, let's see if this cargo test works. Like, how many errors do we have? Oh, just this one. Okay, so we successfully transferred over the vector, the location of the vector. Okay, so assertion. Okay, so we're back to the bitmap problem. Back to our bitmap problem. So what do we need to do with this? We have our bitmap, and it should have all of the the items like a true or false for all the components for all the entities. In the entity data, when we do a big query, we have the component that we're looking for here. But now we're going to be returning the exact same type over and over and over again. So now we can maybe deal with this. So we have our results. We have our name, which is the component. So really, we can just maybe update you to be like a query. Okay, so you're going to be query 0. But we can't just push this component blindly in, can we? This is going to be our problem. Is we have to loop through. We have to use the bitmap to determine which ones we want to keep. If we get these components, okay, so let's say we get these components here, which we do. Okay, we have these components. Before we push in the components, I need to basically slice out whatever is necessary. So we need the bitmap. So you're going to be a bitmap. You come out of the world into mod. Now can I find you? Yes, okay, now I can find a bitmap. So given a bitmap, now I need to query for this component. Which would give me a vector of like booleans for this name. So this is like our map equals bitmap.query. query.0. It's like, give me all of you. That's going to give me a vector. So, okay, we need to go into the bitmap and add in query. We're going to get our query out here. I'm just passing in query? No, just the name. We're going to give a result. Not nothing. This is going to be a vector of booleans. Do self dot entity map get based upon the name. Okay, so if we get this, we're going to return the map. It's gonna have to be okay map. Else, if we can't find it, we're gonna have to return error. Component not found, and then the string is going to be name.QOwned. And perhaps we should go to BBECS error. Let's add like a bitmap. Bitmap component found. Out of curiosity, could I just do that? Would you be okay with that? No, you would not. Okay, so you're really going to be a bitmap component not found. Okay, so you're a reference to a Vecca bool. Sure, why not? Okay, now back out to here. When we do our query, we question mark you, so we get our reference to a vec of booleans. Before we push our result in, we now need to make sure we get a slice of the appropriate components. So, how am I gonna deal with that? It's gonna end up being like a vector of references to each of these, isn't it? Because I don't want to take ownership of it. Let's try this. So the map of this, if I do let components is equal to components dot turn this into an iter, and then I'm going to do a filter. Component. But I also need to enumerate. So you're really going to be the index and the component. Okay, so I get the index and the component here. If I want to return a map of index, if you're true, we keep you. If you're false, we don't. But it's not going to be that simple, is it? Because I don't care about like that specific one. We already know it doesn't exist. We need like the vertical down, like if any of you don't exist. So this is not correct. So we need to think about it this slightly differently. But I'm starting to get really hungry, and I think like my brain logic is starting to like fail me a little bit. So I don't think I can actually like finish this right now. But I think we're on a good path for this. So the idea is that we're going to take this bitmap, and I want to take the bitmap, and I want to grab out, like, just check to see, okay, for all the components, if you don't have something, like if the entity doesn't have like one of these things, then just ignore it. We'll probably have to draw it out. But I need to relog into this. So I'll do that next time. I think that it's gonna be like not too complex, but not the simplest thing either. It's probably just more of like drawing it out, make sure that I like actually am thinking through all like the problem properly. And then I think that will get us to be where we want to be, and that'll make the Asteroids game a lot easier, and it'll make future games and simulations a lot easier, and actually like give us the ability to fill out the last features of BBECS properly. So I am gonna go ahead and leave it, end it here because I need to go grab lunch. So I'm going to go ahead and put a marker in to end the YouTube video.